Smile. Dude, episode 2. And so I actually did a lot of reviewing of our first podcast. You know what we didn't really do the first episode? Is
What's that?
actually introduce ourselves.
Oh,
As in,
yeah.
My name's Kyle.
Yeah. Well, here we are, episode 2. We can do it now.
There it is. Well, I'm Kyle.
I'm Cameron. Yeah.
Let's see, we're doing great.
We're off to a great start.
Yeah, no, I'm Kyle. I have a huge love for stories, movies, TV shows, games, and I grew up a huge sports fan. Never really wanted to be an engineer, and then I woke up one day and decided to become an engineer. Graduated as a chemical engineer, and then slowly moved my way into tech. And now I still work in the tech industry, and I'm loving it. And now I wanted to have a side hobby with my friend Cameron here, talking about video games and stories.
Yeah. So I'm Cameron. Sort of like Kyle, I just woke up one day and decided I'm going to be an engineer. And so I did mechanical engineering. And I met Kyle at my second job after I graduated. And then I followed him to another job. And then Kyle abandoned me. So we'll see if I follow him again. But yeah, so I also love video games ever since I got my Nintendo 64 I must have been 6 or 7 years old. But I love stories. I love, fantasy and sci-fi. And I'm really excited about this podcast.
Yeah,
Kyle's
man.
been talking about it for a while. He's been asking me, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And here we are. We're doing it.
Exactly, dude. No, it's a lot of fun. Honestly, I loved it after the first episode. It was honestly just like talking with you like we normally do. It was just fun. I liked it a lot. So we'll keep it going. So this time around, we did one of those ones last episode of, hey, what was the story where your life was a lie? So I got another one for you. Ready? But different style of question. What was a fact you learned as an adult that blew your mind? So it's a little different. So it's not just like, oh, I was lied to this whole time like that. But you just learned something like, I don't know, any type of fact. You're like, wow, I've been going years not knowing this, and now I know it.
That is a great question. I have nothing off the top of my head. There's something I was just thinking about yesterday that would have been a great answer, and it slipped my mind, and I can't remember it. Yeah, Kyle, you're going to learn I'm really bad with on-the-spot questions.
You're good, man, and you're going to learn. I just give you on-the-spot questions all day long. So flash away. Here, I'll give you mine, and you can think of one.
Okay, I'll keep thinking.
All right, so this was probably 2 years ago. I watched a YouTube video on it, learning this. And it's video game related. Did you ever have an NES growing up?
No.
Or any cartridge game?
Nintendo 64, yes.
Okay, Nintendo 64 was one, but the more popular one, what I'm referring to, is the NES system, the first Nintendo system. You would put in the video game. It's a huge cartridge, this huge square cartridge. You'd put it in the system, and at times the game would break. You would get some different coloring, or something would happen, and worldwide, we knew, because there wasn't Google at the time, just it was word of mouth, you had to take the cartridge out, and you had to blow on it, and then you had to stick it back in. Everyone did that. It was just this common knowledge, everyone knew it type thing. I just found out 2 years ago, there was nothing about blowing on the cartridge that did anything. It was the mere fact of just taking the cartridge out and putting it back in, just restarting the system. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you were to just turn off the system and turn it back on, it probably would have worked just as well. But for some reason, I went just my whole childhood taking cartridges out, blowing on them, and then putting it back in the system. And it does nothing. There's nothing that helps by blowing on the cartridge.
Yeah. Did you ever own a Nintendo 64?
Yeah.
Okay,
love Nintendo
so we did the same thing.
Yeah. Take it out.
You're trying to...
blow.
Oh man, you're trying to act superior because you had the NES, but we did the same thing with Nintendo 64.
No, this is how dumb I am. I would like as a 6-year-old thinking, because in my mind, I think most people thought this. It's like dust gets on the cartridge. So
Yeah,
I would go as far as start licking the cartridge, like the whole like thing, and just start licking it and getting it all wet and then blowing on it. Because I'm thinking I'm cleaning out the dust type of stuff. And yeah, that's what I did as a kid to get the cartridges to work. And
that
no,
is so funny.
didn't do anything. Just it's the mere fact of taking the cartridge out and putting it back in is what fixed it.
Yeah, I think I knew that too, but we would definitely blow on them as well
Yeah,
when we were younger.
everyone did, right?
Yeah.
Like who
And
didn't?
yeah. Well, what's funny too is we would go to my grandma's when I was young, and she actually had an Atari system, and Atari also used cartridges, and so we do
Okay,
the same thing, but like probably similarly to the NES, like it would have a lot of issues because the N64 is pretty good. It didn't have as many issues, but
right.
Atari had a lot of issues. We'd have to do that a lot.
Do you play a lot of Atari? I've never played an Atari system ever.
I mean, we'd go to my grandma's for like a week every summer when I was growing up, and
Okay.
so we'd play it for like a week a year, and
Was
it
it
was a lot
Pong
of
or what
fun.
games do you play on Atari?
Um, I actually don't know if she had Pong, but we would play Pitfall. That was one of them. Do you know that one?
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
You don't know Pitfall? Okay,
No,
it's
I
the
have no
one where you're
idea.
like, it's a side scroller and you jump and like grab the rope and swing across the mud pit, or you like jump across the alligators on their heads.
Yeah, okay. I think I've seen videos of this. Yeah, I know. I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
if
I
you
always
saw a
thought
clip, I bet
Atari
you'd
wasn't
recognize it.
colored. Was Atari
Oh
colored
yeah,
back then?
it's color.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the video I'm
Um,
thinking of was a colored thing. Yeah, okay.
yeah, and I mean, there's probably like 30 games, so we just kind of like pick one up, try it out, and see what it was like. The Atari had some really bad games, like just really not fun.
Well, do you know
Um,
the history? There's like apparently the worst game ever made of all time.
E.T.
Yeah, I just learned that on a Brandon Sanderson podcast. I had no idea. Like this was
Yeah,
like world famous as the worst video game of all time. Apparently it's ET, and it was so bad it almost destroyed the gaming industry as a whole when it comes to consoles at that, like having consoles at your home. Because before then it
yeah,
was always if you wanted to play a video game, you had to go to the arcade machines, like some local
yep.
arcade place. And Atari, led that movement of having consoles in your home, and it was such a bad video game that it almost destroyed the market for consoles in the home.
Yeah, it set a precedent where movie tie-in video games just aren't good a lot of the time.
They're so bad. Like they're so bad. Like
It's just kind of a cash grab a lot of the time, I feel like.
no, it is. Like there's no way to describe it. That's all it is. Is the fact that you can have a movie come out and then a video game develop that quickly. It's a cash grab. There's no other thing. Now there's other video games that I think that it wasn't because the movie came out, but there might have been a movie with it. Like I remember a Super Nintendo video game, Aladdin, which it still
Yes.
is technically a game that came out because of the movie Aladdin. But I remember that being a lot of fun. Like I remember having a lot of fun playing the Aladdin game. You know what was not fun was the second half of all the Harry Potter games. Those were awful video games, every single one of them, except for Chamber of Secrets was the best one. Chamber of Secrets was awesome, but
Wait, what did you play that on?
yeah, right. That's the question you have to ask because it's different for each
Yes.
console.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was Xbox. I played it on an Xbox.
Okay. So I had Chamber of Secrets on Game Boy Color, and
Okay,
it was so good. I've heard it described as like it's kind of like a Final Fantasy knockoff, which I never played Final Fantasy, so I don't know. But
right.
it was really good. Yeah. So that's actually a funny story because I think we've talked about this, right? So, like, for Harry Potter 1 and 2 for the video games, there's like 5 different versions. It's like
Yeah,
the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Xbox, GameCube, and PC. I think the Xbox and PlayStation were the same, maybe, but I think GameCube was different, and I think
I think
PC
the
was
PlayStation
different.
also was different though. I don't know about
They
the
were?
first one.
Okay, they might have been different. Yeah.
I just know Chambers of Secrets was there, and it's everyone says the PlayStation version of Chambers of Secrets was the best one. I never played
Yeah.
it, but everyone says it. And I think, and I could be wrong on this one, the Hagrid meme of where like his face is all flat. I think that's from the PlayStation
Yeah.
version, or maybe it's all of them. I'm not all that confident, but that's definitely from the Chamber of Secrets games, and they're all different. And my experience was Xbox. So.
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel
play the
bad for bashing though Order of Phoenix. I feel like that was the best castle design in any of the games, and we never got a good one until we got Hogwarts Legacy. So Order of the Phoenix, I think, did the closest to like free roam castle, and I think they
yeah.
did a pretty good job.
I never played that one, but I'll check it out. I
No,
won't,
like I
but
said, they're all
I'll
bad.
just tell you I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I won't.
They're not good at video games. But I was a big Harry Potter nerd, and I played them
Yeah.
a ton. I even played the Lego video games of Harry Potter, even though I don't really like the Lego video games normally, but it was Harry
Yeah.
Potter, so I had to play it.
Yeah. So my wife had the DS version of um, Goblet of Fire, and it had a mini game, which was like a Dance Dance Revolution where you like press the direction it
Yes,
shows. And so she said they would just play that like mini game for just hours. It's really funny.
love it, love it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a sucker for Harry Potter. Most anything Harry Potter, I'll buy it, and I just want to try it. I'll play it.
Yeah.
Worst one of all time was I had an Xbox. Is it called Connect or Connect?
Yes.
The Connect, yeah, like Xbox Connect. And it was like a spell wand game, and that was by far the worst one that they ever came out with when it was like some type of Harry Potter game. It was just beyond awful. And yeah, I was a teenager, but I didn't care. I was gonna play it, and I think that was like the only Harry Potter video game. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not gonna move forward with it, and I didn't finish it. But every other one of them, I did play every single Harry Potter game. I just, whether good or bad, played them all, including Quidditch. That was a really good one. The Harry Potter Quidditch game back in, I think it was like 2003 or something like that. I like that game a lot. That kind of segues into what we want to talk about today, which was what's like a video game that you grew up on that just defined gaming for you. That was just like, as a child, like this made me kind of who I am. Was a big part of like defined video games for me.
Yeah. That is a really good question. I really liked JRPGs growing up a lot. So like Pokemon was a big one. But another one I really liked was do you know the Dragon Quest series? Are you familiar with it? It's pretty popular now.
Okay, I'm gonna say something really dumb. People are gonna get mad. When I think of Dragon Quest, I quickly think Dragon Age, and then I know that's wrong because I've actually played Dragon Age, and so I know that's wrong. So then I switch to only some images I've seen, which I immediately go to. What's the? Why can't I think of it right now? The video game just came out. Dragon Ball Z. I just think of Dragon Ball Z with Dragon Quest, and I know they're not the same, but it just gives me
Dragon
those.
Ball Z.
Yeah, I know. But so to answer your question, no, I don't really know Dragon Quest all that well.
Okay. Well, they put a Dragon Quest character in Super Smash Brothers, so look for it there, I guess. But
What's
it's just like hero.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what they call him because he's the hero of the game. So yeah, Dragon Quest, it's just like the classic JRPG, you know. It's like medieval fantasy setting. You go out, you've got your sword, you've got magic, you know, weapon users, magic users. And I just really like the series. But my first introduction to it was the Dragon Warrior Monsters spinoff, which is somewhat like a combination between Pokemon and Dragon Quest, where you, instead of fighting as a human, you like catch monsters and fight with them. And so I feel like
say that again. So you, instead of fighting as a human, you catch monsters.
So in like the Dragon Quest series, you're a human fighting monsters, but in like the Dragon Quest Monster series, you actually catch monsters and use them to fight instead of fighting yourself.
Gotcha. So hence, like, it's a Pokemon style.
Yeah. And so just like, I don't know, I like spent so many hours playing JRPGs growing up, so I feel like that just really influenced me a lot. And
what started that though? Like, was it you just walked into Blockbuster one day and rented the video game, or what got you into a JRPG?
Oh, I mean, Pokemon, I started with the anime because it came on, and I mean, it just like was everything. I was pretty young. I was probably like 6 years old or something. when it came out. And then when I found out there was a Pokemon video game, I was like, oh, I have to see this. And when I finally got one, I was just like mind blown. Like when there was some kid who had a Game Boy in my class and he was showing me, and I saw like he had 6 different Pokemon in his party. I'm like, what is this? Like, what kind of video game can like you can have different Pokemon and you can switch them out? Like the complexity of it, like seriously just blew my mind. I was like just shocked. And so that really hooked me. And I think just as a young kid getting like hooked on this, it just really stuck with me throughout my life.
Yeah, I don't know for me why, but there was not a single friend I had that was into anything like Japanese culture, like any of the anime series or Pokemon. I never had Pokemon cards as a kid. I never like I don't know
Oh,
why.
you missed out.
I know I did. I go like I hang out with you and like Connor and everyone and just realize, yeah, like this was sounds like a great childhood. But I wasn't that guy who collected anything though. Like I didn't collect Pokemon cards, and then I grew up in a sports world, but I didn't collect baseball cards either. Like I didn't collect bottle caps or whatever the most common things to collect. I don't know why. I don't know. I was never that guy. So I'm always interested in people who like are into something strongly, and it sounds like obviously yours is JRPG. Like what started for you? So it sounds like Pokemon is like the foundation of how you got into all that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool. Yeah. What else would you say is stemmed from that? Like, what other games would you say defined it? Or do you think everything else is just a branch from that? Or do you have like another separate foundation game that you grew up like, hey, this is a big part of me?
Oh, that's a great question. So I was really into like 3D platformers at the time, like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64. But I feel like that's not really as relevant in like today. Like people don't really make 3D platformers the same way, or I guess they kind of do, but I'm just not as into it as I was then. But I would say another one that was kind of foundational was GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. Like me and my brother played that game so much, and we just loved it. And that kind of segued into like Halo, which is segued into Destiny, and that's kind of set up my love for first person shooters, I guess.
All right, older brother or younger brother?
Older brother.
All right, was he that brother who would like say, "Hey, sure, you can play with me, but unplug your controller," and like you didn't know you weren't playing, for a period of time?
No, he never did that. He would always get me to play multiplayer games, and he was older, so he was better, and he'd always just destroy me.
You were just sounds like you had a much better brother than my younger sister did. I was definitely that guy who we played a lot of Sonic, and it not that it would screw you up, but like you can play as Sonic and Tails, and Tails as a 2-player, like it's like you're playing together. But there would be things that it would kind of pull you, or what it would just I don't know, like I remember now. It was you would jump and you would accidentally like hook onto Tails when you didn't want to, type of thing. And so I unplugged my sister's controller just so I can get through levels easier, and she was none the wiser. Just kept playing, just had a blast. Like Sonic to this day is her favorite video game.
Dude, you were a good brother.
No.
You showed her a good time rather than yelling at her when she ruined it.
No, I do love my sister though. She's great.
Yeah. Well, how about for you? What games sort of were foundational for you growing up?
So again, my story's a little more boring, but it was just my parents would hear maybe on the news or whatever. There's a console out, and they'd go buy that console, and whatever game was like a default video game for that console, that was the game I was going to play. So Mario was massive, as it was for the rest of the world. So my early, like I told you on the last podcast, my earliest memory is watching my dad play Super Mario. I don't know what happened to Super Mario 2. There's a lot of backstory behind it. There's like a lot of like it only got released in certain countries. I missed out on Super Mario 2. Don't know what happened. Later, like older, like I'm 8 years old, I found like people who had the game and I played it. It's a completely different style, and there's a huge story behind it that I haven't investigated yet. I need to read up on it. But you then dive into Super Mario 3, and that was like, I'm a little older. I can like do certain things without like, I don't know, with intent, basically. And that was a big thing for me. And then leaving that, we got a Sega Genesis. And I swear the only game that we owned was Sonic 2, because we were a little late to the Sega thing. But again, those weren't like, I don't feel like they like defined me, you know, because many times I would rather just kind of go outside and play, you know, type of thing. But it was when I remember we moved and I just got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas. And again, the default game was Mario 64. I didn't know anyone. I didn't really fit in. I remember we were in this city for a year, and I had friends per se, but they were just, I don't know, neighbors or, you know, whatever it is. Like you would go play street hockey with kids, but not close friends or anything. And I remember just Mario 64 was, that is what solidified me of I play video games. This is what I do, is I play video games. I loved Mario 64. I remember going to school and this kid explaining, yeah, video games won't get better. This is the peak of video game. Like, you can't get better because you can now go up, down, left, right. There's nothing left to do in video games. I'm like, he's right. This is it. This is the peak of video games. And
enjoy it.
Yeah, it was just there was this magic to Mario 64 for me that really hit me. It was the beginning where it's like, it's a me, Mario, like, let's go. Like, just those things it's in my brain, and I loved every bit of it. You know, you can move his nose, like you can grab onto his nose and stretch it out, you know, type of thing before you start. And then the music, the castle just looked amazing to me. I've never seen better video game graphics. I don't think there was at that point from Mario 64, just something that I knew a lot as a younger child. But now that I'm semi-older, I am just enthralled by how great this video game is. And the style and like the architect of the video game was very intuitive. I mean, not intuitive. It was just intriguing. It was so fascinating to me, where Mario games before, as you know, there would be a map, and it would just be a bar. You'd have to like kind of go through these lines to get to the next level. Very boring in the first game. I remember Super Mario 3, a little more interesting. You can actually decide to go different ways than you want to. But then they just opened up this entire new world with Mario 64. And in my opinion, it's basically the first steps to an open world game, right? Like, you actually can just go travel around where you want to. And you can only progress to open certain doors because if you got enough stars. And the replayability of levels, like, very creative at the time, where what would get you to play the same level over and over again? Yeah, because there's 6 stars you have to go collect, and there's different ways you have to collect those 6 stars. I think that, in my opinion, Mario 64, there was never in history a bigger jump from what we knew what video games were to what it was now. Like, how much intuition they had. I keep saying intuition. How much just it was just a leap from what you currently had in video games to what was now possible. And it wasn't just graphics. It wasn't just 3D. It was the mindset of like, how can we make this so interesting? How can we make the boss levels more fun? You know, like, how can we make, you know, finding different maps, replayability? Like, it was just amazing. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I got the 120 stars over and over again, not just once. Watching Yoshi commit suicide off the castle, it was just like amazing. Like, Mario 64 is the best video game to me and always will be. That is the foundation for me of like, this is core for me, is Mario 64. Though I played Super Nintendo and I love the SNES, I played that. I skipped over that, I think, a little bit. I played the SNES a lot, but it was really Mario 64 that just made me go, this is amazing. It was magic to me. I really loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I loved Mario 64 as well. I would say I'm a little bit more of a Banjo-Kazooie fan, though. I don't know if you ever played that. Yeah.
I never played it. But I've never heard someone say like, oh yeah, Banjo-Kazooie. That was like it for me.
Yeah, I mean, Banjo-Kazooie, it's like a direct competitor to Super Mario 64. It's just a 3D platformer. It's like a collect-a-thon. It's set up a little bit different, but it's just a phenomenal game, and I love it. But
yeah, no, it was popular. I remember many of my friends played it. I never had it, but I remember many of my friends played Banjo-Kazooie, and so I guess it's not that surprising, like because it was a very popular video game.
Yeah, but Mario 64, like I still love that game. I mean, we bought the re-release a few years ago on Switch.
Oh yeah, we both bought that. Yeah,
I got all 120 stars again. So
nice. I'm mad at myself for not buying it digital. I got the physical copy, and I thought because it might be worse because they really like advertise like they're only making a select few. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be worth something. So no, I highly doubt it. But the reason why I'm more annoyed with it is because I have to like get up and like change the cartridge out, in my Switch when I just want to like switch video games. But yeah, we both got the Switch version where there's what are the 3 games? It's Mario Sunshine, Mario 64, and then it's Mario
Galaxy.
Galaxy, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, I never played Galaxy or Sunshine, and so I was less compelled to play those ones.
Well, did you try it? Because the problem with it is, I am inverted. Like that's what I play as inverted on my camera look. You can't change Sunshine. I don't know if they made an update or a patch, but you had to play
remember
default.
You telling me that.
I'm like, I can't do that. There's no way. And I was so excited to play Sunshine because I never owned a GameCube. And so I was like, oh, okay, this was the next Mario from Mario 64. And many people claim it's better than 64. I don't see it. And again, I'm biased. I explained my whole love for Mario 64. It just isn't my style, like comparing it to Mario 64 and Sunshine. But I did attempt it. And I got through a few levels, but I just can't do it because I don't play default where up is up. For me, fun fact, I used to fly planes. I am a pilot. I'm not present tense, but I used to fly planes. And so just intuitively thinking of like joysticks as like a pilot, when you push up on the joystick, your plane goes down. And so I've always been that way my whole life.
Yeah. Man, you got to fly the plane with the inverted controls.
Not true. What are you default?
Yeah, whatever default is always good for me.
Yeah, because I get it. I understand. Hey, when you hit up, you want to look up. I understand that logic. I get it. Here's how I think of it. I want you to think of an Xbox controller. Think of the right thumb where that's normally like we're playing Halo. That's where you move your head, right? Yep. I want you to imagine, take that joystick and put a miniature head on instead. So if you were to push up on the head's going to look down. And if you pull back on the head's going to tilt up and look up. And that's my best way to explain like why inverted works logically in my head to other people. Like it just makes intuitive sense to me.
Just flip the head around.
Yeah. I've never met anyone I actually missed that. Just flipped that around. Sorry. I've actually never met anyone who did inverted y-axis. Have you known anyone who's done inverted y-axis? I've always seen it as an option. I don't know why every video game has it as an option. I've never met anyone who has inverted y-axis. That one would be really hard for me to understand.
Wait, y-axis is up and down.
No, it's over the x-axis. So the x-axis is obviously left to right. But it's talking about the pivoting rotation over the x-axis. Hence, that's up and down.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, I never change it, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
But what they give you, many video games give you the option for the y-axis, which would make if you move the joystick left, it would make you look right. And I've never known anyone who incorporates that. But anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anyone who's done that, so I'm sure they're out there. There are dozens of them.
Yeah. Also, another core game for me though was GoldenEye. That was a big one.
Classic.
Oh, like played it a lot with my sisters. Many friends that came over. I did miss because again I never had a GameCube. I did miss the Smash Brother phenomenon, like craze, where everyone plays Smash Brother. Never played it. So GoldenEye was one of the few games that was outside like the default Mario or Sonic game. But we definitely did not miss out on Mario Kart. So Mario Kart is a big deal to all of us. In fact, I still play with my sisters and my brother-in-law. Mario Kart as often as possible. When they come over, my nieces come over to my house, we play Mario Kart on the Switch.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, when we had our Nintendo 64, we had Diddy Kong Racing, and so we played so much of that. But also for racing games, I got Wipeout 64. I don't know if you know what that is. Wipeout.
It's
like
sounds
the
so familiar.
anti-gravity racing, but I
Wasn't
really
it?
like
Did they
those.
put it in like an arcade machines at like Dave and Buster's or something?
I believe so.
I feel like that's the only way I know Wipeout. Like I know Wave Race, which is not the same thing, and I understand that.
No,
That
it's like a sci-fi anti-gravity racer. Think
I
like
think I've played it,
pod
but at Dave and
racing.
Buster's.
Yeah,
Like as an
think
arcade.
like pod racing. Okay, we also played pod racing. Did you have pod racing?
Yeah, like the Star Wars one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that one was so good. Yeah, I love that. And did you play Rogue Squadron on
I did
Nintendo
not.
64?
There was an
Oh,
earlier version on the PC. Like I'm 4 years old. I'm very young, and
yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the game's called. And that was my. I want to say that was called Rogue Squadron, but maybe not. I need to go look that up. But there was a. It was like the first game for like as a pilot to be in Star Wars, and I played that on PC, and I thought that was beyond amazing. But yeah, I never had a Star Wars 64 game except for, and I'm forgetting the name. I don't even want to say the name because I'm forgetting what the name is. It was like Shadow something. I thought
Shadow
it was
of the Empire, right?
Was it called that though? The video game?
I think so.
But
where you're Dash Rendar.
I think you are. It's gonna bother me. I'm gonna look it up now. I don't think so.
Shadows of the Empire, Nintendo 64.
All right, I'm gonna look it up right now. Shadows of the Empire. Yeah, it's Shadows of the Empire. That's exactly what it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Is that Dash?
That was a good one.
Okay,
it's Dash Rendar, which I don't know if he's in other Star Wars media. I'm sure he is. That's the only place I've seen him, though.
Yeah. Okay. No, so at the time, I liked Star Wars. Phantom Menace just came out, all that stuff.
Yep.
But I didn't love Star Wars like I do today. Like I'm a recent convert to Star Wars fandom, where the concept of reading like a Star Wars book I thought was too nerdy. Like I was like, no, I'm not that guy. I'm never gonna do that type of thing. And now as an adult, like I try to read as many Star Wars books as I can, and I'm very much into Star Wars and love it. But as a kid, N64, that was the most Star Wars I ever got outside of the main films.
Yeah. Okay, talking about the books, did I ever tell you about like the Star Wars kids books? It was like Han Solo and Leia's twin kids, Jason and Jaina.
I mean, I know they had twin kids, but I don't know about this kid's book you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. No, it was a series. There was like between 10 and 20 books, and I read like almost all of them. They were really good, but also I was probably in middle school, so take that with a grain of salt as to whether they're good or not.
Did you ever get into comics?
No, not at all.
That was another thing where I don't know why my parents even tried. I remember when my mother bought me a Superman comic book one time.
Yeah.
I just never cared for it. And even as an adult, I have tried. As I was trying to do to know every Halo medium, I try to read every book and things. I got through the Halo comics. It was the hardest of them all to get through for me. Like I was really hard to get through. And I am currently trying to get through all of any type of medium of Knights of the Old Republic. I really like Knights. That's my favorite Star Wars era, by the way. Is Knights of the Old Republic era. So there's a comic book series, and I bought this 1-year pass for Marvel Comics on my phone. I can read through it. The entire year pass has already gone up, and I haven't gotten through the 50 issues. And it's the only comic book that I try to read on this Marvel app. I don't know why I can't read comics. I try, and I just would much rather read a novel than a comic. And I don't know what it is about my brain where it's just harder for me to read. I think this is my best theory is I think I've always attempted to read comics via like some digital device. I bet if I had like a physical copy of a comic, that'd be much easier because I feel like reading comics digitally, it's a little hard. You have to like, there's different settings, like you can like scan through each picture, and it kind of gives me a headache. It zooms in and out at times, or you can read the whole thing, but then you have to use your fingers to zoom in what something says. And I think if I actually had physical, I guess I want to try that at one point. Is try physical comics, and maybe I do a better job at that. But I always just preferred books. It was just for some reason easier for me to get through.
Yeah. I think I avoided comics because of accessibility. Like with books, you get a book, you've got the whole thing.
Yeah.
But with a comic, it's like, you want to get through the story. It might be like 20 comics long. And it's like, how am I going to get all these?
Yeah, apparently they're not cheap either back then too.
No.
It's like
they
$3 an issue or something like that. And yeah, like you said, it could be 20, it could be 50. The Old Republic comic book series that I was trying to read, it's more than 50 issues. I think it's like 53 issues. And different a series of volumes. Yeah, it's like $3 a comic if you wanted the physical thing. And could be more depending on if it's like a special issue. Yeah, comics are not cheap.
Yeah, it's the same reason I've never gotten into any manga, because, a manga series might be like 150 books long. And it's like, okay, I'm not buying 150 books for 150 books for $10 each.
Yeah,
like,
my daughter
it's
loves
expensive fast.
My daughter loves manga. She got like checked it out from the library, this big book, and got through it pretty fast. And she's like, "Can we go buy some more?" I was like, "No, we are not going to do this. Like, I'm not going to keep buying all these books."
Put your foot down. Yeah,
I don't know why, but I am a hypocrite though, because like I highly support comic books though, like as like stores and like owners of comic books. Like if someone told me they own a comic book store, I'd be like, dude, that's awesome. And I might even go in and buy comic books just to support the store. But I don't think I'd ever read it. I think it would just sit, like on my office desk, and I don't think I'd ever touch it for some reason. But I am such a hypocrite where I will play comic book video games, so like superhero video games, all the movies, TV shows. I actually love the DC animated movies. If you've ever watched that, if you haven't, I need to get you into it. It's really good. There's a lot of great DC animated films. Marvel struggles with their animated films, but DC does a really good job. I wish they did a better job in their blockbuster films, but they did a really good job with animated films. I love them all. But for some reason, I can't sit and read a comic.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. So
is what it is. That's why. What movie? No, we didn't go see it together. I was gonna say Battle Angel. That was
Alita.
Yeah, Alita Battle Angel. Like the movie got me so interested. Like I wish, like, oh, this has got to be some story. And I go look it up, and apparently it was a comic book series. I was just like, dang it. I guess I'm not gonna go read that type thing.
No, it's a manga series, and it's not that long, so it's only a couple books. And I've been meaning to read it because that movie is probably one of my top 5 to 10 favorite movies of all time. I loved it. Yes. Yeah. I know I love a movie when I go out and buy the Blu-ray like immediately, and so I definitely did that.
Nice. I'm a big James Cameron fan. I think that him and Christopher Nolan, I think they're just masters at their craft. I think that which is funny, both of them are two different styles of people. I think two different like extremes on the political spectrum, but they're just both masters at their craft. And I think James Cameron is phenomenal at everything he touches. And I think Alita Battle Angel was no exception. Like I thought it was really good. I could easily tell in the film though that this story was meant to be longer. Like you can tell like there's events happening that they're just trying to like get through a little bit quicker to like get to a certain point. And that's how I knew to go look it up. Hey, there's probably more to this story, or like this was probably a larger story. Like this isn't an original film. This is based off of like some type of story. And yeah, it kind of that was my one complaint about the movie was like I felt like the editing it seemed a little rushed in that aspect, but beyond phenomenal. Like just gorgeous film. Really loved just the concept of it, and I loved Battle Battle Angel. Loved it.
Yeah, they might do a sequel. I mean,
They left it wide open for a sequel.
It was
yeah,
definitely it was definitely like wide open for a sequel. And I don't think it did as well in theaters as they hoped. But
it was competing against something. Was it Captain Marvel? I think it was competing against another film.
Captain Marvel was around the same time. Yeah. So it didn't do as well in theaters as they hoped, but there was like massive support for it afterwards. And apparently like the DVD sales were just really, really high. And so I don't know the latest, but every few months or like every year or so, there's like some news that comes out like updates on Alita 2. So we'll see. Maybe someday.
I feel like those articles, a lot of them are like clickbait. Like there's nothing new.
Yeah.
They just kind of make a twist of it. I fall for it every time. So though, like they talk about anything like Harry Potter, I'm like, yeah, like what are you talking about? Like let's read this. And I just get mad afterwards. It's like I know what you did, but I don't. I knew what you were doing before I even clicked on you, but I don't care because anything Harry Potter, I always have to go read on it.
Yeah. Didn't you hear? They're doing a new Harry Potter series. It follows HBO. Harry Potter's dad. No, book series.
What? A book series?
I'm just kidding.
What?
You fell for it. No. See, there you go. You fell for it.
No, because here, like, man, that's another like episode entirely. I'm actually going to do a video essay on it on our channel here on theverdict.io. Other thing we keep forgetting to announce that this is the verdict.io is the
verdict.io.
I am going to do a video essay on the first book of Harry Potter, comparison of adaptation in the film, what they get right, what they don't get right, that type of thing. Because I feel like whenever I watch those like YouTube channel, like a lot of people have done this, where the most common one that they bring up is Ron isn't as dumb as they portray him in the films. Hermione stole a bunch of like Ron's lines, and I get that, and it's something to talk about. What I don't think that they nail on the films is there's a lot of core emotion on like the train when Harry needs a friend, and like he really connects with Ron, and how that's described in the book is phenomenal, where the theme, in my opinion, the entire book is identity. And I think that's the theme of the book, and I don't believe that the film portrayed that as hard as they could have. And I think that Harry Potter, I'm American, I'm going to say Sorcerer's Stone. I know a lot of people like to just try to say Philosopher's Stone. I bought the book as a kid. It said Sorcerer's Stone, so that's what it is in my mind. But I think that film is like one of the best films of adaptations as far as like it did it accurately. But I still have things that I'd like to critique on it, and I want to do a big video essay on it type of thing. And I like doing that kind of stuff. I like diving in and finding that style of stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't think I told you, but I actually am starting to reread the series. I just started a week ago. Yeah.
Nice. What part you
on? They just got sorted into their houses, and that was the last I read yesterday, I think. So I'm still pretty early.
Well,
but
it's I'm Professor Quirrell the whole time, so I'm just going to run the story for you.
Yeah, spoiler alert for people who haven't read the series.
Who hasn't watched Harry Potter?
I know. What's that thing you said where it's like, you know what? It's been out for 20 years.
Oh, the Nate Bargatze joke with the Sixth Sense?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, anyways.
It's like, yeah, well, it was like one of our coworkers spoiled like the Scream movie, and you're like, spoiler alert. It's like been out since the early 90s.
No, Nate Bargatze's got a funny bit of like, he's got to tell the story of the Sixth Sense. And he's like, I'm sorry to tell this joke. I have to ruin the ending for you, which, I don't want any of you guys complaining like, oh no, we're about to go to Blockbuster and go pick it up. Like, no, it's been out for 20 years. And then he says the spoiler, and there's still kind of like a moan, like a groan, like in the crowd. And he's like, all right. But it's true. That was probably the biggest plot twist of anything in movie history at the time was Sixth Sense was a big plot twist one.
Yeah, so don't spoil it.
Right. Actually, so segue. I've got a good question for you. More video game related.
Yeah.
Mind blowing moment. Maybe it's a twist, or maybe it's like just like a certain scene. What was a big event in a video game though for that medium, storytelling wise, that you were just like, whoa?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Um, so I've told you I'm really into horror games, right? So
Yes. I don't know why. Why is anyone into horror games? Makes no sense to me. Horror
I
movies, horror
don't know.
games.
I have no idea. But what's fascinating is I don't watch horror movies. I just play horror games.
Really?
And I don't know why. Maybe it's the feeling of like being in control. Like I'm not subject to a movie's character's
Oh,
actions.
interesting. That's a really good point. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that's all I can think of.
Like, don't
Um,
hide behind the chainsaws type of thing. Go like, actually,
yeah,
that'd be
don't hide behind the knife rack.
right.
So one of the games that got me really into horror games was Outlast. Um, it's a game you basically like are investigating this like mental asylum, and all you have is a video camera. You can't fight. And so your video camera has night vision and it has batteries, and you run out of batteries. And it was just like so well done. I just loved that game. But what really blew my mind about it is it's a mystery, and I love mysteries. And just like coming to the conclusion of that game, like just the twist at the end, and then like escaping at the end, it just like blew my mind in a way that a video game had never done. And I kid you not, Kyle, I spent 2 weeks just reading everything I could about this game. Like there's a Wikia page about it. I read
Nice.
every single entry, and I just could not stop thinking about this game for like 2 straight weeks. And I a video game has never done that to me since. It was just like completely mind-blowing to me.
I need to Google this now. So it's called Outlast. It
Yeah,
looks like a horror
Outlast.
game. It looks like a game I would never pick up.
Yeah.
It's got beyond phenomenal reviews on Steam right now. Um,
It's a great game.
Steam says it came out in 2013, or is that just because it got to Steam in 2013? Do you know when Outlast came out?
That's probably right. I don't
Yeah.
actually know when it came out, but
Yeah, it says 2013. Yeah, I'm watching these. Yeah, no, I would never play this. Looks terrifying. Like,
yeah, it is. Oh, it is like so anxiety inducing, but it was
it has
good.
overwhelmingly positive reviews. Like that actual phrase on Steam. Looks
Yeah,
like you are not
it's
alone that this game is beyond
no, it
phenomenal.
is so good. And like I said, it's a mystery, and there's just something about mysteries that like just draw me in, and like same with mystery books, like I cannot stop reading them. Um, and not to like I know we've hit on Harry Potter a lot, but that's the thing about Harry Potter is they're all mystery books. You're like, what is going on?
Mhm.
And so I think that's why part of why it draws me in. But I love a good mystery.
I would agree with that. I think that's one of the things, like, what was intriguing about something like Harry Potter was, like, you're always guessing, like, Snape. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? That was, like, something you're always trying to, like, figure out type of thing. My favorite series, I don't want to say favorite. It's got to be a top 5, is the BBC Sherlock. Love BBC Sherlock. I love that show a ton, which got me into Elementary, which is just a modern day Sherlock Holmes, and if he lived in New York style of thing. Loves
Yeah.
Elementary and that type of stuff, and yeah, there is something about mystery, right? Like solving a crime, investigation, that type of thing that just is really intriguing. And so I get the fascination with this game with Outlast. I'm just looking at these images right now, like, nope, never gonna play this game, so I'm good.
Yeah, it's pretty scary, but I'll get you into it one day.
We'll have to do like sit down, just like forcing each other to play certain video games that we would never do, and like we have to talk about it on the next podcast. That'd be a good segment.
Okay, we'll get you into Outlast. But I guess same question for you. What was your mind-blowing gaming moment?
Mind blowing gaming moment.
Mind gaming blowing moment.
Mind blowing gaming moment. It's gotta be KOTOR. which I am that was like 2020 for me. So the game came out in 2003. I don't know why. Never played it. But Knights of the Old Republic, I don't know how. I just never heard about the twist in that video game. It's like really well known among Star Wars fans. Again, this is like going through COVID. The Mandalorian is on Disney Plus. I played a lot of Star Wars: The Old Republic MMO even before COVID, when it like first came out. I would just play that game off and on, and then I had no idea that that game is basically KOTOR 3, and that's like what you kind of have to have like some references and knowledges to it. And on this channel, I actually did a segment of like why you should still play Star Wars: The Old Republic and like some really great elements to it. But Knights of the Old Republic, the twist ending of just, I really don't want to spoil it. That was like, I was again walking around my apartment and like, that was insane. Like how like they like you just, I did not predict it. I didn't. There was like it looking back on it, there were some subtle clues. Obviously, like they do some cuts to flashbacks or whatever, and I just didn't know that was going to be the twist ending. So yeah, Star Wars: The Old Republic. And if someone were to ask me, hey, should I go play Star Wars: The Old Republic? I'm not sure I'd say yes though, because they keep talking about a remake and they keep talking about like just gonna redo it, but it's going to be not a remastered, it's going to be a remake. And the difference between that two is it's not going to be like updated graphics. It's going to be a remake. Usually is like completely new story, right? It's going to be completely new like timeline basically. So I don't know, I keep going back and forth. I really enjoyed Knights of the Old Republic as a video game as a whole, and that was probably the most mind-blowing thing in a video game where I'm just like, I did not see that coming, and I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I have not played it, and I don't know the twist, so don't spoil it.
No spoilers.
Okay, actually, on a future episode, we should talk about remakes and remake culture, because I have a lot of opinions about it.
Yeah, we're in it right now, right? Like, this is the age of remakes. Like, this is... it's just an odd thing where they, like... I feel like companies are just not... they don't have the confidence to come out with something original. And so they bank off of, like, people's nostalgia. And that's what they really, really want to hone in on. And yeah, I always want to support developers who try new things. And I will always, like, try to support that. Unique stories. Which, movie-wise, I remember my mother would complain all the time. Like they can't do anything new in Hollywood. Like, they're all the same. Like, my mother's a big person of that. Like, always complains that all stories are the same. And then Inception came out. I was like, you got to go see Inception, because I felt that was one of the most unique original concepts in years for a film. My mother goes sees it and she's like, that was a stupid movie. Why did you make me go see it?
Oh my gosh, that movie was so good.
So good. Yeah. I think that's a big reason why I'm also a James Cameron and a Christopher Nolan fan, is I don't feel that their stories have been done before. Even Batman for Christopher Nolan, like, yes, obviously it's Batman, and Tim Burton did pave the way for a darker Batman. But the way he went about it, I felt was unique. I didn't feel like I was watching a similar Batman. We all know, like, we all have got probably the similar opinion of just how phenomenal Heath Ledger was as the Joker. It was just unique to me. And therefore, I really applaud directors when they're going for something completely original. Because I also have really hot takes on remakes and adaptations, as you know. Because, as I mentioned in the first episode, holy crap, did they screw up Halo, the TV series? Like,
yeah.
Wow. Like, you had, like, this was a layup for you. Like, it was so easy to please Halo fans. Halo fans are very easy. We're not Star Wars fans. We're Halo fans. Even though we're the same people, we've got a different mindset. Like, there was so much we would have accepted, and yet you still somehow dropped the ball. Like it was just, it was so terrible.
Yeah. Oh man. Maybe that's for another episode, but didn't you say something like it felt like somebody wrote a show and then at the end they're like, let's make it Halo. And just like put the Halo sticker on it.
Okay, so that's a real thing, by the way, in films. Have you ever seen the movie oh, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yes.
Phenomenal movie, right? Just incredible. J.J.
Yeah.
Abrams. Now, what that it was, though, is the movie was never supposed to be called 10 Cloverfield Lane. It was supposed to be called The Cellar. And it was just supposed to be about everything in the movie where just, I don't know, for you know who don't know what 10 Cloverfield Lane is, the concept is a woman gets kidnapped and she's put into one of the, like, bomb shelters and she's chained up and there's, what's his name? He's such a phenomenal
John
actor.
Goodman, right?
John Goodman, thank you. I don't know why I can't think of names. John
Yeah.
Goodman and a lesser known actor, I don't know what his name is. So there's two men in there and she's there. So she thinks John Goodman is this evil person and that this other person is captured as well. But the other person says, no, we're not captured. He saved us because there's aliens outside. And she's like, what? No, not aliens. I screwed it up. It was a disease. Yeah, aliens.
It was aliens.
Yeah, okay. So he's saying there's alien, but the problem was why you can't go outside was because you can get infected. Like there's something that was like radioactive or something that was you can be exposed to it. So he says there's a rule you can't leave because you die. And she's in the mindset of you're crazy, you kidnapped me. But someone who she semi respects and feels is more sane, she's like, no, trust me, he's not lying. And so that's kind of like a great mystery to it. That was the only story. It was supposed to be called The Cellar, and that was it. But J.J. Abrams gets a hold of the script and connects it to the movie he did of Cloverfield. And so he connects all, like, it's all into the same story, which is Cloverfield. And then this is kind of the, like, a little more of the aftermath of after Cloverfield happened. But he kind of added that tidbit. So it's a common, I don't want to say it's common. It happens where you have something written and they're like, hold on, let's put this other IP over it just to get, the marketing value up, or hey, I just think this is kind of cool to put this over. I think J.J. Abrams did it correctly, where he didn't really change the story at all, and he easily connected 10 Cloverfield Lane into his overall arching, like, Cloverfield story that he was creating, this Cloverfield universe.
Yeah.
Halo to me felt the exact same way, where it was just this different idea and they were writing a story and it wasn't that good, but it just honestly felt like Paramount had to come out. I think it was actually what was the competitor to HBO? Who's the Showtime?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had I think Showtime had the rights to the show first, but then it got to Paramount Plus. But it was just, hey, we have to get something out, and how do we do it? And it just, to me, it looked like they had a script for a different show, and they're like, okay, what if we just put a green guy now instead of like a normal soldier? We'll just put he's got green armor now, and yeah, his name was Steve. We'll call him John, and that's what we're gonna do now. And like that's what it felt like. It was so bad. It was terrible, and I'm just still mad to this day. And those are one of those things I don't think I'll ever get over it. Like it will always just kind of bother me when someone wants to talk about the Halo. I think the worst part of it is, you know what it is? My dad liked the show.
No,
like, he liked the show, and because my dad's really into B series sci-fi shows. Like it's one of his like guilty pleasures, and that's exactly what it was. It was a B, like not what do you call it? A B series? Not B series. What's the phrase?
B film.
Yeah, it was the B film. Anyways, it was a lower grade sci-fi film, and it was just awful. Like, oh man, I can't get over how bad you had the easiest layup to make a good film. Just talk about the fall of Reach. That's all you had to do. And
that would have been good.
Yeah, just create an interesting storyline in that aspect. But I don't know, like they just had like, oh, I want to like create my own story. Why? Why do you want to create your own story? Like, if you want to create your own story, create your own story and call it something else. And I don't understand that mindset of, I'm just going on this rant really quick. It really is like bothering me here, which is there's an argument for this that people say, well, yeah, you have to call it like Halo or this IP because if you didn't, people wouldn't come see the TV show. And to me, I'm like, isn't that the problem? That it's not good enough where people won't come watch it? So stop stealing IPs just to do a quick cash grab for like market value. Because yes, some idiot like myself is going to watch it because it's Halo. Because you called it Halo. Like I am a sucker, and of course I will go watch it. And that's what you did, is you just got suckers like myself to come watch your show just because it says Halo, instead of, hey, what if you actually tried? Like, that's why Chris Columbus, who did the Harry Potter films, love him, because he could have done the exact same thing, just like a quick, easy cash grab. Harry Potter's popular at the time. He did it right, and he tried to be true to the source material and make a great film, and I think he accomplished that. The showrunners for the Halo TV series, awful. Just did not do it.
Yeah. Man. Tragedy.
Tragedies. What do you think, Cam? Was that a good episode? Should we end it on that?
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
But
anyways, thanks, man.
Always a good time.
Always a good time. Slowly but surely, we will be getting out more video essays for you guys. We'll start doing actual video game reviews, and I have a website that we're building, so that'll be fun too coming up.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Yeah. All right. See you, man.
See ya.